Live. Good evening. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein. This is TMS Roundtable Global. We are live streaming from Israel. It's 2100, 9 p.m. in Israel. It's 7 p.m. in Britain. And I hope some of our UK members of our community come and visit. It's 2 p.m. in USA, in East Coast. And it's 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Anyway, I'm always happy to be here, mostly every Monday night in the last 4 years, and I'm hoping every Monday night for the rest of my life. So I hope this becomes a habit, and I become a regular show in people's life, because this has been great for me, and I'm blessed to be here. So tonight, my guest is Dr. Ruth Halperin. And I don't think in the 4 years, Rose and I had someone like you with not only your experience, the topic, which is very close to my heart, movement, but I don't believe we've had somebody quite like you, Ruth. And the fact that you had a Sarno healing story just makes it all that much better. And then the fact that you had a book cure, which all of us would like to have. You literally had a book cure, and we're going to hear about that. And to all the people out there that don't have a book cure, healing can happen, recovery can happen. You're just a little bit more special. Your body's a little bit more being challenged. There's a little bit more purpose and meaning in your recovery. But for all that to say, Ruth, I want to hear your story, please, from hello, like soup to nuts. You were doing your life, you got some pain, you were studying, you're a professor. Share with the listeners, speak slowly since you're Israeli, though I love your accent, but speak slowly so we can all understand. And anyone out there and listening in the studio, welcome. So happy to see you. At some point you can ask questions. Ruth and I would be happy to share with you. Erev Tov.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you. Okay, so yeah, it started. Actually, my chronic pain started from injury. So this is one way that we know chronic pain sometimes begins. So I had an injury which happened in a training when I was working out. And I simply overloaded. It was too much, and so I got something in my back. Okay, and so this is how it started. So I had very intense pain starting the day after, and then okay, so I was assuming it's going to go away. I wasn't worried at the beginning. I was worried, but then I became worried, and somehow it just time passed, and it didn't go away. It did get better from the beginning because initially it was an acute injury, but then it just didn't heal. Like I kept feeling it, and then I started the whole thing. Like I went to see, because I already was a movement therapist. I was already working with a coach, so I was consulting also with one of my teachers. She was a specialist in rehabilitation. The person I learned from, one of my training certificate in Pilates it was, and then I went to see physiotherapists, and I saw doctors, and I did not the MRI, I did a CT, I think it was, so all the usual stuff, and actually I only got worse, which is also typical for it's the story, but I know that many other people it's something similar, that the kind of conventional treatment didn't really work for them. But I remember, and many things have been said to me, which in retrospect I know were harming more than helping, although that's not the intention. I mean, I'm certain that the intention of the people who try to help me was very good, and it's just that, you know, that's the way they work and that's what they believed in. But for me, it was harmful, and I just kept going. And one of the things I knew is that after 3 months, I should be fine.
Right.
And so the worst came after 3 months because I wasn't fine. And here,
Right.
and I've done the 3 months, and okay, so, and I was told not to do things like don't run, don't this, don't that, everything, all the things
So
I
this doctor's telling a movement therapist not to move.
don't move, don't run, don't this. And I went, this story I told you actually before, because the last, I think it was, yeah, it was the last one before I found Sarno, was a chiropractor. I think I told you that story. And he said, stop raging. Like, what do you think? What kind of life you're living? Don't run, don't serve, don't do that. You keep doing those things, you will keep hurting. And so don't. And then I said, okay, so I'm going to stop for a while, but I can do it for several months. But I was always a mover and I was very, very active. And it was also very difficult for me not to be doing all those things apart from the pain. So anyway, as time went by, I was still searching. I went to an orthopedic surgeon. He referred me to a CT, and then I went back with the results, and he said that that's why my pain comes from my disc herniation. There are my back. Actually, I have also put on my website, but I remember that when we talked about my results, and there was, you know, the report, and there is an abnormal findings between every vertebra in my lower
Yeah.
back. So we said all the things and many other things, and really that was one of the points in the process where, like, I can literally remember how my pain got intense as we were talking, as he was telling me that this is the reason for my pain. And one thing interesting, he said that one of the things he noted, he said, this is an old thing. I remember we were looking at at my skeleton together. We were just, he was showing me, and he said, but this thing is old. And I'm kind of, okay, but if it's old, I think he got it from, and that was, he explained to me that something in the way the bones looked, there was some growth there, something changed. So he figured it's old. And I was like, but if it's old, then how come? But there were so many things, and you can never know what happened when, right? It doesn't say so. There's no dates on the bones to tell you when this or that happened. So anyway, that was a very low point for me. It was a very low point for me. I was in pain, and I was in but really, and especially the point where the chiropractor told me, look, you cannot keep on living like that. And for me, that was life, and I didn't think I was doing anything, you know,
Just by the way, I'm a
extraordinary.
chiropractor, and if anyone ever comes to me, I would never tell them to stop exercising. So a chiropractor
Never.
did what he thought was the best, but that's okay because there's many different kinds of animals out there. So nothing at this point,
Exactly.
nothing gave you relief. Nothing gave you any relief.
Nothing. And I was doing all the things, like, you know, I was kind of dedicating my life to healing. So I was doing everything. I spent an enormous amount of time and money and, you know, running around from different specialists and buying the things and doing the things and taking the rest. No, I would even say that the treatments like manual therapy, which I went to two different physical therapists. I went to two different massage therapies, like and what else? Yeah, I mean, I think these were mainly the kind of treatments, and I always felt worse.
Wow.
And it would take me like 2 to 3 days to
Wow.
just come back to baseline.
Wow.
Like they really were harmful to me, and also pills also. So I got what's it called? You know, the muscle relaxation, the
Yeah.
different. I can't even
Yeah.
remember the name, but you know, it's kind of painkillers of different sorts.
And how many
Same
months
thing.
was this? How many months was this journey? Was this downhill journey for you?
Like even after the 3 months, uh, it was another. So I think it was from maybe another 3 months
So six
at
months
least.
of not getting any relief from an acute injury,
Yeah,
movement therapist, somebody in shape, somebody who knows her body, and all of a sudden I can imagine the fear and the anger of what you were feeling as well.
yeah. I was completely devastated. I was completely devastated and desperate because I didn't like, you know, the nobody gave me hope from all the people and so and again, I think it was, and I was again dedicating my life to this. Like it was like until I heal, I cannot continue with my life, kind of thing. That was my mindset. And also, I could, and the pain was really like I wasn't able to sit, which was very problematic for me. Like sit in front of the
You were not
computer. I
able to
mean,
sit. You were not able to sit.
no, no. I mean, I would get pain in like after 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So it was a struggle, and a lot of my work was sitting down by the computer, preparing my lecture, doing my things. So the problem. Uh, uh, so yeah, so I think it was so by the end. So again, I was going from one specialist to another. Then I got to the point with orthopedic surgeon who suggested surgery. So I didn't do the surgery in the end, but that was the suggestion. He said, okay, this note and all different treatment didn't work for you, then maybe you should consider surgery. But he didn't promise anything.
Yeah.
He didn't promise. And I think the fact he didn't promise anything, it was the last thing I wanted to do, obviously, and I was really fearful of surgery. So anyway, then I went to the chiropractor. That was the lowest point I got, I think. But something in me was like, no way, like it cannot be the end. I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. And so I kept searching. And at that point, I think it was probably something like 9 months since the injury. At that point,
Yeah.
And that was when I found
And how did
Sarno's
you
book,
find?
Healing Back
We all
Pain.
want to know how you found Sarno. Did something come across your Facebook feed?
No, it was, you know what? I can't even, I don't know if you remember, you had this stage. I know that many people find themselves in this situation when they are, searching. Dr. Google, yeah, right? So you search and you look for things and you move from one thing to another and you just keep searching. Somehow, and I can't even remember what was because you're just pressing on, you're double clicking things. And I can't even remember how, but I remember that there was this link of a PDF file.
Yeah.
And I double clicked and it opened. It was healing back pain.
Was
And
it
it was not even an
the
ebook.
audio on
Somebody,
you?
somebody photocopied the whole book. It was
It
like
wasn't
the
an
paper.
audio of his voice. It was a PDF.
No. A PDF file, which I double clicked, and the whole book opened. Like, I don't know how that happened. And so
Okay, so
I opened the book.
wait for this one, guys in the audience. Wait for this next couple of sentences. Then what happened?
Then what happened is, as I said, I was not, I found it very difficult to sit down for more than 10 to 15 minutes. And I opened the book and I read the book from cover to cover without even standing up one time. Like, I just read the whole book.
Say it again slowly. You sat down.
So from not being able to sit down for 10 minutes, I was able to sit down for 8 hours.
Okay.
Reading the book from cover to cover. So reading books from cover to cover wasn't the big thing for me, because I have no problem reading books from cover to cover, but I wasn't able to sit. And that was the amazing thing. So as I was reading, by the end of it, like, I hardly ever felt any pain.
Okay, again, you sat and read the book. It was 7 hours later, and you realized that you had sat for 7 hours in the same position, reading a book without pain.
Exactly. That's the story.
I've not heard that story in all my years quite like that. I mean,
yeah, but if I would be fair, no, but it wasn't like, I would say this. I knew, I think what happened, the book cure, is that I discovered the truth. That's what happened.
You discovered the truth. You were facing the truth.
Discover the truth. Yeah, the truth came to me. And so but I did have more work to do after that. And I did get the symptom imperative, and I did get all the things that I then read about and learned about, and then, treated other people as I moved on to becoming a coach, but for people with chronic pain. So it was a book cure in the sense that, I never had doubt ever since. And that is one of the things we know that holds people, and it's a challenge for people who are healing from TMS. The doubt: is it really that? Oh, is it not the disc? Is it not structural? Is it not what the doctor said? Because I've been told so many things that I know now were wrong, and I had to. But there was something about the book that crushed all of it once and for all. And I think that was the big thing. But I don't want to make it sound as if I had nothing to do after that, because that's not the case. I still had pain coming and going. I had the symptom imperative, like I had a pain moving around and all of that. So that was only the starting point for me. But I knew that this is it.
Okay, Ruth, does it ever really, honestly, and in response to Johnny's question, because Johnny comes around a lot and he's on his journey. Please correct me if I'm right or wrong. The journey's never over. Recovery is a journey. This is not a cure and you are pain-free, because the pain is a reflection of something deeper. So we're talking about a relationship. So what you're saying is you began to have a relationship with your body that was healthy.
Yes, but I think that I would say that I've cured the chronic pain. I have cured it. Like, I never have chronic pain. Never, ever. I never had chronic pain ever since. I have pain. It comes, it goes, it's here, it's there. It moves around, it doesn't move around, it comes again to the same place. But that's life. Like, I don't have any expectation not to ever feel pain, because if I stop feeling pain, I would probably die, right? Because I need the pain for protection. But chronic pain is a different story. The persistent pain is a different story. And that I've cured myself from. Like, I'm not suffering anymore from that. And I believe that it's curable. And I see it in many people, like it happens. So this is, I think, the distinction. It's not like, you know, they talk about pain-free, zero pain, never pain. So that is not an expectation for me. So I'm not talking about pain-free in that sense, that you never feel any uncomfortable sensation, right? So I do feel uncomfortable sensation every now and then, but I never have chronic pain. So I think I feel very confident to say that I cured myself of that.
Right. So how
With
I'm
all
going
the
to bring
things,
up
right?
Johnny's question because you're in Johnny comes to visit often when I'm on these shows, and
Hi, Tony.
you know.
So what's the question?
So the question, I think it's a comment. I think I would love you to address it because Johnny hears my answers. Johnny knows what I'm going to say to him, and maybe you can just give him some confidence and hope that he's going to be okay because he's questioning and doubting whether he's going to be okay, and that's what the brain is hearing, and that's what the fight and flight mechanism is keeping him in constant pain because there's this like conflict going on. Maybe you just want to as if and you know, look, I think Johnny should be moving and exercising. I don't know what he's doing. We've not really worked together, but I know that Johnny like lives with some chronic pain. So what would you say to someone who's not been able to heal and who falls and gets up and falls and gets up and doesn't really get up, just keeps falling and falling? What would you say to a client like that?
The question is, what is he doing to heal?
Yeah.
It's again, it's like, you know, you could say, okay, why I didn't heal in the first 6 months. It was because I wasn't doing the right things, right? I was moving from one thing that didn't serve me to another thing that didn't serve me. So I only got worse. And you know, but it's, you need to find yourself on the right path, and then the patience. So again, I think for me it was relatively easy. First of all, I didn't suffer from the pain for an enormous, like, years and years. Some people do. So I was lucky in that way. But and also in finding the book and in being able and in relating to it, so, you know, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there is still ongoing work to do.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about, you know, like Johnny's mentioning about his feelings of fear and anger? And so you had fear and anger. And how do you integrate, like, because from Sarna's point of view, Johnny's still repressing deep feelings and his brain is, you know, on high alert, threat, threat, threat. How are you able to take your repressed feelings? Because obviously that is part of why the ongoing chronicity of it and why. Oh, when he plays pickleball, he has no pain. Okay. So tell me about,
There's something,
let's
yeah.
talk about feelings. What do feelings have to do with it? Let's talk about what you were feeling and how
Okay,
that helped you.
so as for what, uh, I mean, let me just start with say, maybe in response to this question, is I think the feeling part for me, if I talk about come to my story, that, and that's my fascination for why my pain became chronic at that point, because it's not the injury. It was a acute injury. It could solve in, okay, 3 months, 4 months, but no more. I mean, there was not any reason. And I know that, but the timing of this injury came in a stressful period of my life. That I know. And I think that's why it became chronic and not just left me like any other injury. It wasn't the first time I got injured, and not the last time I got injured. Like a year and a half ago, I broke my rib. I broke my rib. I went to surf in Sri Lanka, and somebody came into my rib with this board. So it was a very bad injury, and it got broken. And the rib takes a long time. It's a bone, and and the breath and the thing. So it's not like you can put it in a. And it took 8 weeks before I could even. For 8 weeks, I didn't do anything. By the way, nothing. I gave it complete, and only then. And now I don't even remember which side it was.
Wow.
So it didn't become chronic. I just okay. So injury. And I think that's where the feeling comes in. So it's true. I was in a stressful time. So I had issues to deal with. And I know now, and I read also research, we know that from research that it happens that, when you have an acute injury, it is more likely for it to become chronic if the injury came in a stressful time in your life. So I think that also plays a role, and I think in that
Okay.
sense,
And to just make opposite that, it doesn't mean that every stressful time we have to expect chronic pain. That's the journey. That's the
not at
journey.
all.
We can be angry and fearful and lonely and full of sadness and be under threat, even in a country at war. We can live in a world and not have chronic pain in response because we're dealing with our shit. We're looking at ourselves in the mirror naked with our clothes on. So that's what I want to say to Johnny. There's something still that needs to be unraveled for you, brother. That's my feeling. Is something you're still not facing the man in the mirror, the monster under the bed. With all my love, I say that. So I want to hear from you in a minute, but I want to just address Zach. Is actually a doctor of chiropractic like me for many, many years. He's a colleague, an amazing chiropractor. And he's here in Israel. Make the movements of moving as much of a challenge, and win is winning at pickleball. Yeah, exactly. So Johnny, you're getting some advice from Dr. Weiser, who also has a little bit of chronic pain. And we're doing the dance, we're figuring it out. And he's understanding his doubt, which is a big thing. So movement, again, what is movement? Let me just give my 2 cents. Blood and oxygen. Whether Sarno said that it's blood and oxygen deficit, we all know that movement is blood and oxygen. Movement is breathing. Breathing is tapping into your parasympathetic nervous system. Exhaling is activating your vagus nerve. Vagal toning is happening just by exhaling. So movement is the key. And what is happening? What happens when we get in pain? And doctors, majority will say, stop moving. Which honestly, I'm not going to diagnose anybody on the internet, but most of the time, a little movement every day, step by step, breathing, sitting and moving your arms, moving your toes. Movement is the key. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so movement heals, period. Movement heals.
Movement heals. I'm putting that in caps.
And avoiding movement, fear, which is called fear avoidance, avoiding not moving, is a barrier to healing. Quoting John Sarno in his book Healing Back Pain, actually, he repeated that in many other occasions that I heard, but that's where I read it the first time, and it stick with me until this day. And I think it's fundamental that he said that overcoming fear of movement and establishing a regular physical activity routine is the most important part. Right. And we know that people with pain, for obvious reasons, they fear movement. And fear is at the basis of all of it. Like we know it from Sarno, and then all the others that have been pursuing this work, Shubina, and the PRT,
Yeah.
the thing. So the pain, fear cycle, we know that. And so as far as movement is concerned, we have the fear of movement when we have issues with our body. And in many cases, there is a connection, like I was telling about my story. So I had pain from sitting for 10 minutes. And so I feared sitting and I feared running because the chiropractor told me I would get more pain, or I feared whatever. And people fear things because either it's people tell them the movement is going to trigger the pain or make more intense, or it's just their experience. So whenever they move a certain body part or they try to do a certain movement, they get the pain. So it only makes sense that they avoid movement. And we also have tons of research to show the correlation between people with pain and avoidance and fear of movement. So I think overcoming this fear really is, for me at least, and for also my clients now for several years, it's been the most important part of the healing. So it's not just the movement. I think just doing movement, just going to the gym or going to some yoga class or whatever, it's not going to do the work, because if the fear is still there, then it's not going to work. So again, you need to go back to movement. I mean, so then the question would be, how do you overcome fear of movement? You don't just do it, right? It's impossible. You have to change something in your mindset. In other words, you have to change the way you think about the movement. And in that way, in that sense, it comes back to all the Sarno work and all the PRT work and all the others who are talking about the mental work which is needed and the change in terms of the paradigm shift. So what's causing my pain? The pain science education, all of this. So without that, you cannot just expect the just moving your body. So it's the intention. It's all about the intention. How you go back to movement. So I think that's key. It was key for my healing and in the way I work now, to use the movement to understand, first of all, that we avoid movement, to understand why we avoid movement, and then to work to overcome fear.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think, look, it's so varied and individual. I spoke to a woman last week who was scheduled for surgery, and she found the Sarno book, kind of like by serendipity, and she got up after being in bed for 6 months, and she walked. And I keep hearing this story. And she walked. She had pain, but she kept walking because she trusted. Like, again, some of us think we're going to hurt ourselves. So part of it's a trust of the body, figuring out like the medical definition, the medical diagnosis, understanding like that by standing up and walking, you're not going out and lifting. Like it's so individual, but part of it is exposing yourself again to the perceived threat. It's individual in every case, but it is a trust. What I'm hearing from you is you trusted your body somehow. For someone who knew your body so well, but you began to trust your body in a different way than you had been because you lost the trust of your body.
Yeah, I think what I think you said it, like what the key, and in that way it's very similar to PRT, for those who know that, or other kind of methods we use for chronic pain in the mind-body medicine field or community. It's like exposure therapy. right? So it's about gradual exposure. But yeah, I mean, there's the avoidance. And when you're stuck in the avoidance, you're stuck with the pain because you're stuck with the fear. When you want to overcome it, you need to do it gradually, because otherwise your body is not going to react very well, and also the brain. So we know that in order to, I don't relate very well to the word unlearning, because I think, I don't believe you can really unlearn, but maybe relearn or change the way you think, but to kind of create and rewire new networks, then it's not something that you need a repetition, you need a process. And that's gradual. So I would say it's similar to exposure therapy in the principles, but it's with movement. And again, we know that, and for me, that was so obvious. I mean, I saw it happening in my body every time. And I even went to heal some old stuff once I learned about it. The conditioning in the body, like the conditioned response. I sit, I get the pain. Oh, please, after 10 minutes. That doesn't make any sense from the physiological point of view, right? Do you think that something, or they have it with walking. So they walk 100 meters and the pain, I mean, is it enough kind of, does it burden the back so much? Walking for 2 minutes? So I think it's the conditioning. Even just the thought of I'm going to walk now, I can feel the pain. So it's about working on the...
Ruth, come back. Anyway, here I am. I lost my guest. So I think I want to talk about, in the Pain Brain movie where, Alan Gordon was talking to the football player, the ex-football player. Let's see, Ruth will be back. Oh no, it's the black place. Come back, Ruth, I don't see you. Come back again.
I'm back.
Anyway, I did make a note to call my internet service because my internet's not so good. I know it's not so clear. Let's see if Ruth can come back. But anyway, Alan Gordon's in the office with Greg, the ex-football player who hasn't, moved or slept. He's been sleeping in a chair for like 10 years and so scared to stand for a long time. And then in the office and on the movie, he's having Greg stand up and feel his pain. Let's see if this is Ruth. Come back, please. No, I don't see you, Ruth. We need to come in a little different door. I have 4 bars. Looks like my network quality is pretty good. Stay with me, listeners. Come back. Anyway, and so he gradually has Greg stand up. And I think 2 things happened in the office with Greg and Alan Gordon. One, he helped Greg change his relationship with the pain. And I know that I try to have people, so there's this sensation. Let's call it, some people call it their superpower. Some people call it, it's like I don't even want to call it pain. No, Ruth, it's the black hole. It's not working, Ruth. I don't know what we did before, but it's still black on my end. You know what? Restart your computer and come back in. Anyway, so a couple things is what I believe that the PRT does, or exposure therapy. One, we're doing the activity that we most fear. So we're in the position that we were told don't do. And there's many things we can do. One is like, there's the sensation. Yesterday, it felt like a big pain. Today, it's a sensation that's not comfortable. I'm not comfortable, but I'm with it. And I'm understanding that it's not running my life. It's just not comfortable. Please come back in. Yes. Now, what did we do different? What happened?
I don't know. I'm here.
I made a note
Yeah.
to call my internet service. I'm so sorry that this internet's not been so good the last couple of weeks, but I think it's the angels trying to get into the galaxy. They're trying to carve their way into our world here in Israel. It's the angels coming in. But welcome back. So, what were you saying? Do you remember?
Uh, I think we were talking about, and I was hearing you all the time because I
Okay,
was
so let's talk
disconnected. I don't
about
know.
exposure therapy.
So you were talking about, yeah, so I want to relate to that because that's what I was talking about, the conditioned response and about the exposure therapy. And you mentioned Alan Gordon, the brain pain movie, which I've seen. So I can relate to that. And again, it's exactly that. So what's your problem? Where is the conditioning? So it's probably what the thing that you are avoiding. So whether it's sitting or, and again, what do you do in exposure therapy? You go there, like you face the thing. And once you understand, and that's the science, you understand there is nothing wrong with my back. The reason that I'm having difficulty to sit or to do whatever I'm trying to do, okay, in terms of moving my body, position or some movement or walking or running or whatever it might be, once I understand the science and I associate my pain to neuroplasticity rather than structural pain, which was exactly the paradigm shift I've done using Sarno, because I was hearing all my problems, my this, my that. That's the source of the pain. That's the reason why you're hurting. And that's why I kept on suffering. Once I was able to change, then then the exposure therapy worked for me because I understood that the cause of my pain has nothing to do with my disc or my back or anything in my body. My body is perfect. It is what it is according to my age, according to whatever, but it's fine. And so what I had to do is face the conditioning, and the conditioned response is not in the structure of my body, but it's in my brain. So when you do the exposure therapy, so you're actually doing the same movements, but you're doing it in a safe space. You're doing it gradually, and you're desensitizing
Yes.
for the sensation. And then that's where we also use somatic experiencing and all those techniques, which helps you desensitize. So
Right.
it's about interpreting the sensation.
Right. And it's not ignoring the pain, it's not stuffing the pain, it's accepting your feelings and changing your relationship with the pain. Oh,
Yeah.
you're safe. Okay, I feel good in my neck, I feel good in my arms, I have a little discomfort in my back, there's some tightness there. Okay, let me analyze it and give it all these labels, but it's okay. I'm safe. See, this is
Yeah.
PRT 101. Like,
Yeah. So
I'm
it's peer. Yeah. It's exactly that, but it's much more attention to the body, not just by, because I think for me, and that's also how I work in my clinic, with my clients, is that it's not, and I read all the books, I listened to all the podcasts, I watched all the movies, I learned loads from all of it, and I keep listening, reading, and learning. So, but I think that, we're talking about a mind body, or I would even say a body mind, although not try to say that one is more important than the other, but, just thinking about the body, talking about the body, observing the body. It's all fine, but what about just moving the body and being active with the body? And I think that for me was much more effective to achieve exactly that. So I'm desensitizing my sensation, and I'm working. And just as an example, okay, you're moving, okay, in a once you are in practicing, okay, your body, you're working out. So let's say you're doing, I don't know, sports. Just take something everybody knows, okay? So I could do small one, and then I do some repetitions. From the first repetition to the 10th repetition, if I was building it gradually, there will be different sensations. I will
Now,
feel different.
let's address, because there's another thing that I learned and people do. One is that to visualize before you do it, that you can do it. Like to visualize, like this is something that, sometimes when we visualize getting in that position, we can feel even the pain. This is something that Schubiner figured out. Sometimes people will visualize sitting and they'll still feel pain, which shows it's in the brain. But let's say people get up and they have the pain. They're like, oh shit, I didn't want to have it. I listened to Dr. Tova. She had this great Dr. Ruth on, and they like told me to do it. And I got up and so that in that situation, you have an opportunity to, okay, so the discomfort is there. The sensations are high. You're trying to put the dial down to 9, 8, 7, 6. You're doing everything and it's not working. So what do? Take a deep breath, have patience, go deep, feel the anger. Like it's really like, again, falling and getting up, falling and getting up. Like what Johnny Limitless Sanchez is doing. Like this is the journey. And I don't want people to lose hope or have to find another therapist, another coach. Like this, talk a little bit about how do we stay in the process of trusting that this is the way out? How do we do that?
Consistency, practice. That's it. Like anything else in life. Like I don't know by now. I only found this one principle to achieve your goals in life: be consistent.
Consistent.
Keep doing it. That's it. That's it. And you need to find the right thing for you. Like, for example, because as I just said, I watched all the movies, I read all the books, I tried everything. So I did the journaling, I did the somatic experiencing, I did this, I did that. And I found the things that work for me. And I know that if I, it's about being consistent. And then what happens is you get much more nuance. For example, I think with movement, like people who move, okay, and people who are working out, and they feel more things in their body in a way, right? I mean, everybody works out, knows that sometimes they get burning sensations, right? Sometimes they get DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness. Sometimes they feel stiff, sometimes this. So I run and my hamstring gets kind of stiff. And then I do some, I don't know, Pilates, and I try to stretch it. And I do this and I do that. So I feel my body. But it's not, and many of it, and it happens that some of the sensations are not very pleasant. But it's not pain. It's not pain.
It's not dangerous.
It's not dangerous. Therefore, it's not pain. So I teach my clients, don't call it pain. Say, okay, it's burning. This is actually, the burn is actually a sign that the muscles are working and growing. And this is a desirable outcome. This is what we want. So why call it pain? Pain is, when I broke my rib, it was pain. So I had to stop and I had to let the body do what it needs to do and support the body in the healing process. But when I'm fine and I'm working out and I'm feeling things, this is not pain. It's something else. And the same thing, I can wake up and maybe I wake up in a bad mood and I'm feeling into my body, but this is not pain. And if I'm consistent about my interpretation, because it's all about interpretation, right? From, like you said, interpreting the sensation as dangerous. equals pain. Interpreting sensation as safe or even desirable, even if it's not comfortable, or even if I know it represents or it's a holding space for something else, sadness, anger, I don't know, other things.
What
So
if every
I
doctor,
can.
what if every doctor said to every chronic pain patient, do you know that pain is an emotion? Do you know that pain is processed in the amygdala here, where chronic pain is, and also fear and anger? Like, what if that's what we learned in life? That chronic pain after a certain amount of months, that's not a tumor or something structural, like something acutely structural, you know, it is an emotion. What if that science, which is the truth, was told? What if we were educated? Would we not be business media?
We would be different and we would not develop chronic pain, I think, because yeah, it's yeah, and I think that I think all the somatic practices which I use a lot for myself, it was extremely helpful in my healing, and also I work a lot with the somatic experiencing. It's just amazing how quickly you realize the power of your mind on your sensations. It happens every time, and it takes like 3 minutes, right? If you're doing it, even for the first time, I saw so many people. But okay, lie down. Where do you feel it? Ah, okay, in the back. Okay, so we start the process, and then suddenly it's not anymore in the back. It's somewhere else, and it moves around, and now they don't feel it. Do you know this? Like everyone who's been doing somatic experiencing, especially consistently, and they have some experience, they know that, they realize that. So it tells you so much about your sensations and the relationship between your thoughts or your cognition and your sensations, and from the body back to the sensation. So when you are moving, similar things happen. So the first time you do it, maybe you feel one thing. By the 10th repetition, you feel something else. So you can see how the movement influence your sensations. So it's all about being able to become aware of your sensation, I mean, in your body, whether it's pain, meaning something dangerous. So yeah, be able to identify the sensation and respond appropriately.
Yeah.
If it's something else, be able to interpret that and respond appropriately. So maybe you need to go to sleep, because we know how sleep contributes to our sensations and to pain in particular. Maybe you need to eat. Maybe you need to move. Maybe you need to do somatic experiencing. Maybe you need to breathe. Like the relaxation part, or the release, the tension release, maybe you need to release tension. And so one way to do it maybe is to actually go and exercise like crazy and
Yeah.
discharge it off from your
Yeah.
system. I see people that's what they need. And maybe what you need is actually to relax, to breathe slowly, and to find relaxation in your body by letting go of the muscles, letting go of the tension. So it's all, so you can come to it in the body from different ways, but it's all about the sensations and the
Yeah.
way they relate to your thoughts, your
Yeah.
beliefs, your mindset, and what you do and your actions.
Yeah.
So I think,
Beautiful.
uh,
So I think that I'm going to
yeah,
add a title onto our fearless movement. Know yourself. Fearless movement. Know yourself. And look, I've been lucky being in the fitness world and being a chiropractor. It's given me a gift to know myself and understand myself. It doesn't mean I'm any more in touch with my feelings. It just means I'm comfortable physically with my body, and I understand what's going on. And I have, and this is where an education about your body comes. It's an opportunity. When people have pain, they can learn about their body. And I interviewed this woman who healed herself from cancer, and her big thing was people need to know what cancer is. People need to know how their body developed the cancer, and what did the cells do, and how did they dance in that direction? And a lot of people are like, I don't want to know. And yet the gift of her healing was that she connected to what was going on. And this is another thing that we don't get from doctors, but some doctors will tell you. Like, I tell everybody what that click is. I don't let anyone say to me that they're going to get cracked in my office, or that there's a knock, or there's a move. It is a gentle movement of the joint. So I'm big on educating. And again, go into your doctors, say, I want to know what my body's doing. Could you explain that test to me? Take 2 minutes, please, and tell me what's on my blood test. Can you tell me? Like, this is a doctor's responsibility, is to share. And it's your responsibility as a client, as a patient, to want to know. And some of us are like, I don't want to know, and this is another level of
Yeah, I think it's a big one. Yeah, I think it's a big one because we all fantasize. I think that's the word, that
what's the word?
Someone or something will fix us.
Yeah.
Fix us.
Yeah.
Will take away the pain, the problems, whether it's emotional or physical or whatever. It's fair to fantasize that, and I also fantasize, but it just doesn't work, does it? The pills will not rescue me, the doctors, the surgery, nothing. So I think that's the bad news, that there's no fix from outside. But the good news, and it's the very empowering news, is that we can do it. And so I think that's what we learn from this process, that we have the power to do it, and the power is within us. But it's challenging, and as you said in the beginning, it's a process, and it in a way never ends. It's life kind of thing. But yeah, I think for me at least, I think from every I know in this field, and from also the client that came out from the other side, is that it's worth it, really.
Yeah.
It's worth it because it changes everything, and I definitely feel much more healthy, first of all. And it's everything. It's not just my muscles and bones. It's everything. It's the way I react to any sensation, really.
Wow.
And even emotion. And you mentioned that before, like, I don't know, when we talked about feeling and emotions. And again, it's the way, it's definitely a part of it, right? So, but the way I think about it and treat it is more, again, is from the sensations. So in emotions are physical sensations.
Yeah.
We say we have butterfly in our belly, we have blood going up our head, like all these metaphors to talk about our emotion, but it's not metaphor, it's really happening. Like there's always something there. And I think it's another, and I see it as part of the movement. Like, you can, there is movement that is going on inside your body when you are feeling any emotions. And instead of going to the narrative and the analysis and the, repeating and the thought, and I heard somebody say, I can't remember what it was, you're thinking your feelings. You're not feeling your feelings, you're thinking your feelings when you start all this process. But actually, if you go inside your body and where am I feeling it? And you're tracking it and you're allowing it to be felt in the body, then you're actually processing your feeling much more than talking about them endlessly and kind of in those loops, which for me, I don't know that they actually bring me to any healing, but maybe even more to a negative kind of spiral, downward spiral.
Yeah.
So think.
Yeah. So you froze for a minute, but so anyone out there in the listening, I'm so happy to see some of you. And anyone want to ask a question to Ruth, Dr. Ruth? It's a good name, Dr. Ruth. And Anyone have any questions for Ruth? She's also on Facebook. She works here in Israel in a studio. She has a beautiful studio, a Pilates studio, and also other kinds of movement. And what would you say? And you're also teaching about movement in the university. You're teaching about movement.
Yeah, no, and I also have so I have this studio, but I also work on Zoom, and some clients I work completely online, and we do everything. Like in all of my sessions, there's always movement. Another another point I want to make about movement is I think that one of the important things about movement and healing from pain is that, okay, so we know from Sarno, from everybody, that we need to kind of release the idea that something is wrong in our body. And that is something we can understand here, right? In our prefrontal cortex, we can understand it or not, or we can try to convince ourselves. But when we work out regularly, when we move ourselves and we develop our body in this way, we actually get so much evidence from the body that we are strong, that we are anti-fragile, and this change the sensation also. So I think that's also a very important part. So every session, there's always movement, and I do it either online or in my studio where I have all sorts of different equipment. I use different movement modalities because I believe that when we talk about movement, we need to be very, it's personalized. So not everything is for everybody, and not everybody needs the same thing. And so it depends on many different things, their preferences, their situation, their age, the background, so many different things. And so I don't commit to a specific kind of movement, although I'm certified in many different techniques. I actually try to use different things to find the best fit for. So it's a personalized program, and changes. People kind of evolve. So I work either online in Zoom and also in my studio, or hybrid for people who are. So that is another thing I do a lot.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you can find Ruth on Facebook, or you can find her through me. And of course, I always want to have a sequel. I always want to have a Fearless Movement Part 2.
Yeah, so definitely we can do that.
Maybe you want to invite someone that you've worked with, who you've helped heal from trauma or movement, or whether it was Sarno, but some kind of other mind body. I mean, there's so many wonderful mind body methods out there, but I'm akin to, and I love the Sarno method, and I love that it's evolved into, unlearning your pain, relearning your pain, having coffee with your pain. I always say we got to make love with our pain. Like, get down with it. Like, we really got to love our body and understand our body, and this is part of the journey. The body's
and enjoy it, and it's. I think we are all meant to move, and we can all enjoy movement. There's movement, but it's like part of the human nature, and we need to tap into it. And I think why it's such a great way to overcome the pain, heal from the pain, is because you turn the thing that was the source of your pain and sorrow and suffering to something that brings you pleasure and joy.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you are fearless in your movement. So you lose the pain. You lose the fear, in that way, you also, free yourself from the pain, because we don't, sensation without fear is, when there is no fear, there's no pain. It's just sensation. And now
Right.
you can give it a new meaning, right? And as we work, we find, and everybody can enjoy movement. They need to find what works for them, and they need the right encouragement and the right training. But I think it's a great way to feel good in your body, with your body, feel safe first of all, and then you can also enjoy.
Beautiful. I love it.
So
we'll meet again. We'll have a sequel. We'll have a part 2. We'll have a
great. I look forward to it.
I'm really sorry about the internet dance. It's something that gets me a little anxious every week that the internet's working. I'm not sure it works so well. I hope you guys got to hear Ruth. If not, we'll come on and repeat the same thing, because it's about repetition, repetition, repetition. There's nothing new, but I love the way we said it tonight. We said it tonight different than any one of my other 185 broadcasts. I forget which number. I think it's like 186, 187.
Wow.
Every week we say it a little
amazing.
Every week we say it a little differently. Your language, your accent, whatever I'm wearing that night, we just say it a little bit different. We just package it a little bit different, but there's nothing new that we're saying. And it's the truth. Like what you said, you were sitting in that chair for 8 hours and you couldn't sit for 10 minutes, and you were reading about the truth. And you were like, I want more of this. And it's more important than my sensation in my back, this truth. So maybe I'm going to call the show The Truth, the TMS Truth.
That's a little bit.
The round table of truth. I mean,
Yeah,
but anyway,
it is.
I'm really happy I met you. I met you from another show that I was doing with Dr. David Schechter and Dr. Amir Savoni, who's another TMS doctor here. And that was really amazing, because then I saw that we live near each other, and I came to your clinic and I saw that I was scared to do something. I was scared to turn upside down, but that's another story.
Do it. Yeah,
I didn't really want to go upside down, but I'm really happy that I met you. You're just another angel in my life, and I really appreciate our relationship and how much you have to share with my listeners, our listeners. And so please come back again. And thank you so much for your patience and speaking slowly and beautifully. You gorgeous human being. Thank you so much for blessing my studio.
Thank you so much, Tova. It's been a pleasure. And I would love to be here again.
We'll meet again.
Thank you so
good night,
much.
everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good night, and God bless you all. We'll see you next week. All the best. Okay.
Thank you.